way that I'd like to start is by diving into the story of how you got into triathlon. Maybe not yet until the part of like doing half Ironmans and those things, but really just like you just mentioned that you like transitioned from playing tennis to running, biking, and swimming. So yeah, I would like you to share that story of how that change was for you and what that first stage was like.
Well, yeah, I played tennis since I was born until like I was 12 years old. And then I started like burnout. And then my dad actually signed up for a triathlon that is here in Ecuador, the Ironman 70.3. So yeah, I eventually went with him to swim, then run, and then bike, and eventually I continued to train with him, and I found like that passion in that sport that it, for me was amazing to see something such big, so big, and I don't know. It felt like it was something really hard, and that made me like hook on the sport.
Mm. What led to like that first burnout in playing tennis?
I don't know. I guess I just was playing too much. I was playing in the
Yeah.
morning before school, and then after school also a lot of hours, and eventually it felt more like an obligation than a passion that I had on sport.
Mm-hmm. And what about like that next stage of like starting to train? Well, as you were saying that you started like to just do that with your father, I guess that at first it was not really like uh an obligation in any way. It was just like something you started doing for fun, but not necessarily like many hours in a day. How was that first stage of training? Like, what was your usual day like during that stage, training wise? Like, yeah, guide us through like that stage in your life.
Yeah, so at first it was just like so I do something because I was after tennis I was kind of lost. I didn't know what sport to do or what to do with apart from school. So yeah, at the beginning I just went swimming with my dad. So then he swam in the morning, so I just woke up in the morning really early and went swimming like two, 3 times a week, and then go went to school and yeah, had my normal day. And then eventually I started like after school I started biking indoors or running indoors, and yeah, and eventually I started to like it, and well, I started doing that at 12 years old, and I didn't do my first triathlon until I was 15, because by from 12 to 15, I guess it was just like to move my body, like to
Hmm.
do have something to do. But eventually I found like that passion on the sport.
Yeah, it was not necessarily like any type of like training for like a competition as you have been doing recently. It was just like for exercising, right? Do you think it was some sort of like relief after the burnout? Like, because like from what I am like from the context that I have about you, I perceive that you have been like athletic your whole life. So like exercise has always been there. And so it's not like your way to rest from that is not necessarily like not to exercise, but it's just like to exercise in a more chill way. So it was like that back then, right? Like having this period in your life where you were just like exercising for fun in some way. What other things did you do? Because you mentioned that you used to play football too.
Yeah, like after like my whole life I play soccer, like in Ecuador soccer it's kind of the first sport. And yeah, I played soccer in school, and when I burned out from tennis, I was like kind of lost. And what came up to my mind is, okay, I'm gonna play soccer until I figure out what to do. And yeah, I started playing soccer, and eventually I got hooked more and more in triathlon. And well, soccer and triathlon don't go that compatible, so
Mm.
yeah, I chose
Mm.
triathlon over soccer since I like it more.
Mm, yeah, for me it was something similar too because I had been playing football my whole life. Yeah, since I was like 4 until I was like 12, 13. Then I started getting into triathlon. And I mean I still enjoyed soccer and well yeah football. But for me it was just like that transition to have like to do something different like sport wise because like it's as you were saying, very different, like the things that you do, just like racing in triathlons and
Hmm.
like playing any sport in a team or with a ball or things like that. How was your or what is your perception from like that transition about like the differences in tennis and in triathlon? Not necessarily about the sport itself, because like I mean that's pretty obvious, right? Like when one of you are you just like hitting the ball and like you have the court, and the other you're running, biking, swimming, but like beyond that, what about like the training, for example? Once you started doing triathlon more in a like disciplined way and for like competitions, um, how was that compared to when you trained tennis like very consistently?
Yeah, so I guess I when I played tennis, I got into it so in like such a young age that I didn't like remember the first like few years that I started playing tennis and I started like fell falling in love with the sport. On the other hand, in triathlon, I remember that very vividly since I was already like 12 years old. So I remember how I felt in love with the sport, and that's actually nice, you know. And also, like, I think the main difference, apart of the physical part, that of course triathlon is a more demanding physical sport than tennis, it's the mental part. I think tennis is more tough mentally, since you're just like on a court hitting balls all day, and that can become like very tiring, you know.
Mm.
And yeah, in triathlon you have more dynamics, since you can go bike wherever you want. You can reach places that in my life I could have imagined with a bike, or you could swim, yeah, in a pool, which it's tough, but yeah, you can swim open water in the ocean or run wherever you want. And yeah, that's it. And also the physical part where I got into it, since tennis, you can spend a lot of hours playing tennis, but physically it's not that demanding as triathlon. In triathlon, I started getting like more and more hours every year, and yeah, I just found that physically it's triathlon demanded more, and that gave me like I don't know, like a dopamine release in my body that I haven't felt before, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why I got hooked.
Mm. It's interesting that you mentioned like that perspective on the mental aspect of tennis, because I would usually think of triathlon as, again, this is maybe talking about stereotypes because I have never really played tennis. But like triathlon is mostly perceived as more mentally challenging than other sports, I guess because it's a resilience sport. And also if
Hmm.
you're like actually not just running the race, but also like trying to uh like finish under a certain like time or anything like that is even more challenging. But yeah, so what you're saying is that like your experience was that in tennis the mental the part that was mentally hard was really just like doing the same thing again and again and again. So it was like tiring in that sense, not necessarily tiring in the physical sense. Well, I
Yeah,
mean
and
it was
also
of course in the
it's
physical sense, but like not compared to triathlon.
yeah, and also it's talking on the mental side, it's is that in tennis you lose more than you win, and you could go to a tournament, to five tournaments in a year, and you lose in the four of the five tournaments or in all five. So, and in triathlon, you might not win all races, but you have those personal wins that you say, okay, I want to do this time by the end of the year, and you might do it that time, and that feels like a win to you, but it doesn't necessarily you win the race, you know?
Hmm. How have you been well, no, before that, like let's start getting into how was your experience of starting to actually compete. So was the half Ironman the first triathlon competition that you did, or what was like that first experience of transitioning into turning it from a hobby into like a discipline for you?
Yeah, my first race was when I was 15 years old. It was an Olympic distance race, and
How much
yeah,
is it? I think it's 750 meters swimming and then
no,
20 bike
it's
and 5.
1500 meter swimming, 40K bike, and a 10K
Hmm.
run.
Mm.
Mhm.
And the one below that is sprint, right? Sprint
Yeah, that with
distance.
the sprint, yeah. It's
Okay. So
basically
your
half of
first
the.
was okay. So your first was Olympic.
Yeah, I decided to do Olympics since my dad was training for a full Ironman and I was doing his training. So the weekend was
Mm.
like doing a 140K bike and then running off and doing a 12K run. So I thought that the sprint was a little bit too short for me, and I couldn't race 17.3 since I was underage. So
Mm.
yeah,
Mhm.
I did my the first Olympic race and I got third. And yeah, I have never run. I remember I run the 10K under four per kilometer, for under 4 minutes per
Mhm.
kilometer, and I have never done that. And I did it on the race day, and that felt like, even though I haven't won the race, that felt like a win to me, and I was like super happy, you know.
Yeah. What's your current pace for the 10K?
I would say from 310 to 315.
Okay, okay. I mean, I guess that's also like a result of like the years of experience and like the years of training. I
Yeah,
mean, I've run I think three times like the 10K distance in my life. And, like my best has been like 58 or 57 minutes in total. And I mean, I was like really just trying to keep it at a pace that I could actually keep. Otherwise, I mean, I've tried like trying to run it like in like more quick, but it's really not something that I necessarily enjoy a lot. From the three sports, which is the one that you love the most? Which is one that you like not necessarily hate, but you the one that you don't necessarily love? And then like the ones that you find like most challenging. Like if you had to order them from like one to three, like how would that be for you?
yeah. The one that I most like is the bike. Uh,
Mm.
I just love grabbing my bike and just going to wherever. And yeah, in Ecuador we have a lot of mountains, so I just love climbing. Then I would
Mm-hmm.
say the run is, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. There are times throughout the year that I do like it a lot, and other times that I don't like it. And the one that I absolutely don't like, it's the swimming. And I think most triathletes would say that swimming is the worst to do it, but yeah, we have to do it in order to race it.
Mm-hmm. So getting back to your first triathlon, you were saying that you did pretty well for yourself, and like that was something you were proud of because of like the time that you uh under which you finished the race, but that you didn't win. Was that your first experience of like trying to? Well, I mean, yeah. First of all, were you actually trying to win, or were you just like competing to finish the triathlon? And how was the experience afterwards? Did you start to focus your training more towards competing and trying to win, or how was that?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting on getting on the podium or winning. I really didn't know how the level was, and yeah, I know about how I could perform, but I didn't know if that was good enough for the win. So yeah, I just went to do the race, and yeah, I guess I have that competitive edge since I played tennis so much, and yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all. And after that, well, I started to get more into it, and yeah, before triathlon, I had the idea that tennis would be my ticket to go to college.
Mm.
And after this race, I got the idea that yeah, triathlon could be my new ticket to go to college.
Mm-hmm. I actually want to get into that, into like how was your experience going to college and like doing both things, like university and triathlon. But before that, let's talk about. So this was when you were 15, and then you went to university when you were 18, 19.
Yes, 18.
Okay, so how were those 3 years? Were you so you had realized that you were gonna be using triathlon as your ticket to go to university? I'm guessing that's as with a scholarship, right? How were those 3 years in triathlon to really maximize your running, your biking, and your swimming to be able to use that for college? Like, how were those 3 years of your life socially, training wise, mentally? How was that period of your life?
Yeah, I was so into it that yeah, well, I was really enjoying training, and I was really into training and performing. And yeah, it was hard managing that socially with triathlon, but it was hard in some sense, but easy since I was really into it and I really like it, and I knew that I don't know, missing a party or missing an event, it didn't matter to me because I had this race or I had to train, you know. And yeah, I got a coach and eventually like just follow his guide in order to be fit enough in order to go to college for triathlon, you know.
How often were you competing back then?
I would say 4 to 5 times a year.
And all of them were Olympic triathlons, or what were the distances that you usually did?
Yeah, most of them Olympic triathlons.
Okay. And what about the half Ironman? How did you start getting into that, and how was your first experience in that?
Yeah, I think that was my, let's say, I fell in love with triathlon when I was 12, and I fell in love with it again when I did my half Ironman. I
Mm.
was 18. I was just graduating high school, and there was a half Ironman here in Ecuador. I think I got in. My coach said, "Okay, you can do the race. Sign up for that race." And it was like in 2 weeks, and I wasn't trained for that. He just said, "Okay, sign up and let's see what happens." And yeah, well, I got a Barrow TT bike. Yeah, and then I went to the race and I won my age group, and I got like fifth in overall.
Okay. What was your time for that half Ironman?
It was 440.
4:40. Okay. What's the usual time for a half Ironman? Does it vary a lot depending on the uh age categories?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, I think the most competitive one is the one that is like 25 to 30 years old. I think that one is the most competitive. Yeah,
And what's the time for that one?
I think actually the one who won the overall race was in that category. I think he did like 425 or 430, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it was like 20 minutes difference to what you did.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. So, yeah, in your Instagram bio and also from what Jose shared, he mentioned that you were the national champion in that distance. That was then from that experience and from your age group.
No, that was the overall, and that was like the same year I did my first half Ironman, but the first half Ironman I did was in July, and the national championship was in December.
Oh, okay, 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 cool. So, what was that experience like? Were you really very excited after the first Ironman, after the first half Ironman, and then just decide to go for the other, or how was that?
Yeah, so I did the first half Ironman, and I already was committed to a college.
Hmm.
And yeah, in August I went to college, and well, that really changed my view of triathlon and the level the triathlon was, since there were people coming from all over the world, from Europe, from Africa, from the US. And yeah, I improved that a lot during that time. And then they announced there's going to be the national championship in December. And yeah, I eventually signed up for that, and I knew I could go for the win, and yeah, I won.
Was that in Ecuador too, or where was that?
In Ecuador, yeah.
Okay. What was your time for that one?
That time was 340, but it was a bit shorter than the half Ironman.
Okay. I would like you to break down the distances and the time that you under which you finished, so that people listening who don't necessarily know a lot about like the distances and like what a good pace is and those things can actually get some context and some idea of how fast this actually is. So yeah, could you break all of those things down?
Yeah, so the half Ironman I did in July, my first one. Well, in the almost in the 2K swim. I did 28 minutes, which I think is like 1 minute and 29 seconds for 100 meters. Then on the bike, I did, I think it was 2:25, 2 hours and 25. I don't know how many kilometers per hour is that, but I think it's a good time. And then on the run, I did an hour, an hour 30, I think.
And that's for half a marathon.
Yeah, for a half marathon. Yeah, 21K.
Okay. And then, well, what pace is that for how many minutes for a kilometer?
I think it's 4:15. Yeah, 4:15, I think.
Okay. And then how was that for the second half Ironman? So for the national championship.
Yeah, so it was a bit short. The sim was the same. It was 2K. I swam a bit faster. I think I did 27 minutes, which is like 1 minute and 26 seconds for 100 meters. Then I did the bike, which was 80K. I did it in maybe 2:15, 2:18. I don't remember quite well, but I do remember that it was like a 39 kilometers per hour.
Hmm.
And then it was 18K. I don't remember the exact time I did, but I remember that I ran a 3:50 pace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, just for people listening to get more context on this, I guess that for runners, it's more easy to really just uh grab an idea of like how fast this is. But I guess that maybe the average pace of someone who runs frequently but not necessarily very fast is like 5 minutes for a kilometer, right? So like someone running 5 kilometers does that like within 25 minutes or 30 minutes. And you were
Mhm.
so in 25 minutes you're running like uh almost 8 kilometers, seven.
Yeah, I would say 6, 7. Yeah, 6, 7 kilometers.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's pretty fast. How was the feeling of that of winning that national championship, having just competed first at one half Ironman? Because I'm guessing that it would be like one thought that people could have is that like if you have won like a national championship at a distance, it's also because you have done that many times. But in your case, you only did it once, although you have been doing a triathlon for and other triathlon distances for other times. How was the feeling of winning that first race, and what were like your impressions, the impressions of your family, of your coach, of your friends?
Yeah, I was super happy and also quite quite surprised, and it gave me a feeling that yeah, I could do great things in this sport, and yeah, it just motivated me to keep going and yeah, keep working and building on that. And also, yeah, my coach was super happy. He saw how much I improved when I went to college, and it was exponential the improvement that I did. And yeah, my parents said the same thing, and they were super happy. And of course, they keep supporting me in doing this sport.
Mm-hmm. Great. Now, before talking about your transition into university, I would like to talk about this part that you just mentioned of like how uh, improvement happens in triathlon. So you just mentioned that you had some like exponential improvements. And I told you that I was interviewing another triathlete last week, and we were talking about how like maybe in the beginning, like really investing in like good bike equipment and good running shoes and things like that really helps you for gaining some advantage. But then there's a point where really investing like an extra $500 doesn't really make that much of a difference if you already have like invested a lot in the equipment. So that's on the like the investment part, on the financial investment part. But also, I guess that on the like training side, there is something like this, right? If you haven't really been swimming for some time or at all in your life, like once you start swimming, it's easy to make like some fast improvements, but then like after a year you start like just noticing some very little improvements. So I think it's kind of that way in some sense. What are your thoughts on that, on how improvement happens in triathlon in this two ways, or in like any way?
Yeah, I would say that yeah, the equipment for sure plays a big role in improvement and like in improving your times. And yeah, like there in triathlon is such like a picky sport that every detail matters, especially on the bike. You can get new wheels or a new helmet, and that could mean like minutes or seconds of faster times, you know. But yeah, it's not just equipment. You also have to train it. And yeah, I was saying the training part. Yeah, at first, if you haven't done triathlon or haven't been active in such a way, you're gonna see exponential improvement at first. You're gonna improve a lot and fast. But there's gonna be a time when you, let's say, reach a ceiling and it's gonna be really hard to improve, and it's gonna be, I wouldn't say you won't improve, but the improvement is gonna be slower than at the beginning, you know?
Hmm. Are you experiencing that in any way now that you have been like in this for years?
Yeah, yeah, I have seen it. Like at first, the improvement was exponential, and now it's like yeah, I'm not improving that fast, but yeah, I keep improving. And yeah, I can see like year by year, there's seconds and minutes that I have gone faster.
Hmm. Okay, now let's get into your experience in university. So, you got a scholarship for triathlon, right? For competing for your
Yes,
university, or how was it?
yeah, yeah, I got a scholarship for triathlon in my university. I study finance, and yeah, I graduated in 4 years.
Okay, how was your experience as a student athlete? That's what they call them usually, right? Because I've got
Yeah.
this friend who is doing tennis in university. He's in San Antonio, I think, in Texas.
Hmm.
Um, but he's doing tennis and school. And he told me about like his student athlete life, but he was saying that he wants to focus his lifestyle more on being an athlete student, not a student athlete. So yeah, how was that for you? How was your life during college, combining your studies and triathlon? How was that life, and how was that life change from, well, compared to how it was back in Ecuador?
Yeah, I would say also that I was an athlete student since I was training a lot and trying to keep studying, but mostly focusing on training. Everything was evolving around training. I would make my schedule in order so that I can train. And yeah, it was really different from how I was training back home since I was training even more. I was surrounded by people who were more experienced in triathlon, who were faster than me, and yeah, that helped me improve really fast. And it was quite a reality check on how the level is and how the triathlon is in other countries that are more like developed in that sense in that sport. And yeah, basically my day was waking up really early. I would say six from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. training for an hour and a half, mostly running. Then going to class, and at 12, 11, 12, I would go swimming for an hour and a half, and then went to class again. And then around 3 or 4, I would go ride my bike. Yeah.
Was that every day, or how was your recovery part in that stage of your life?
Yeah, it was hard to adapt since I have never experienced training this much and also managing studying and going to school, you know. But yeah, I adapted quickly, and yeah, it was just organization, getting my schedule organized, and when I was gonna recover, eating enough, and yeah, I mostly take my recovery days on Monday, so get a good start to it in the week, organize my week, and then I continue training during the week.
I think that's a good way of doing it, like taking Monday as your as the day in which you're like free for like planning the rest of the week, or doing it on Sunday, because otherwise if you do it like maybe Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, like you don't really like plan much or anything. You're just like really resting, but not necessarily optimizing the rest of your week, right? Now I
Yeah.
would like to make this a little more general or universal for other kinds of people listening. So like most of what we have talked about has been about like triathlon, and for people who are interested in that, in like sports and triathlon. But now like let's talk about some things that are a little bit more universal or that people can resonate with. So like the first thing is you were just mentioning that one of the hardest parts at first was really trying to adapt like to this new reality, given that you were like competing or not necessarily competing but training with people who came from places where their routines or where their triathlon lifestyle was like more mm, hard in some way. So you needed to adapt to that. You needed to adapt to like combining university and triathlon. What were some of like the biggest personal lessons, I guess, that you discovered during that stage? I guess that time management, for example, is one of the main ones. But like, what were some others?
Yeah, I would get, yeah, time management is a huge one. And yeah, I will also say discipline and self accountability, because no one was there to knock on your door at 6 a.m. to get up and train. Of course, you sometimes you are tired and you want to stay in bed more, but yeah, you just have to learn to don't think about it and just wake up and do what you have to do.
Mm,
And yeah, on self accountability, I would say that yeah, it's really important, since you already are an adult and no one is keeping track of what you're doing. So yeah, you have to stay true on what you're doing. If you do it wrong, well, you have to say, yeah, I did this wrong, so that you have accountability on that, and improve on the on on what's next. And yeah, I would also say that yeah, be open minded. I learned from a lot of people in college, uh, a lot of different views, a lot of different perspectives, and especially in sport, like they have a different view on how to train or how to work, and yeah, respect that, and yeah, and learn that that might work for them, but it doesn't necessarily work for you. So you have to find your own path and just trust in what you have to do.
mm. Uh, how was that for you, given the adaptation that you needed to have during college, during like the cultural with the cultural shifts and with being in a new place? Because I mean we're still like in the west, so like the United States doesn't change much from like the rest of the American continent, but it still does, because I mean it's different languages, different countries. How was that process of adapting to that new culture and country for you?
Yeah, it was hard at the beginning, but yeah, it was. I had to adapt. I had no other choice. So yeah, I finally found my way into that and being comfortable in that uncomfortable situation. And yeah, eventually it felt like it was my home, my new home.
Mm-hmm. What were so once you adapted and had got used to like training and studying, what were um some of your main accomplishments during like the that university stage? Like maybe some big triathlons that you competed in. I was seeing in your Instagram that you were doing half marathons too. So like yeah, what were some of the things that you competed in or did during that stage?
Yeah, I raced it like in the college level. I did a few races. I also my senior year I did the half marathon there in my city. I got third, and I did a really good time that I'm proud of. And yeah, I would say also the national championship that I did back home. I During that time I did a exponentially improvement in my training, and yeah, it paid off on that race.
Hmm. What about now? Like now that you have finished this stage of your life of like university, what are your what's your like vision for the future? What are you doing now? What's next for you? What's next in triathlon?
Yeah, for now I'm just taking a time to train and well think with a clear mind and with no pressure what I want to do in my life. I think what I realized is that after I finished high school and was transitioning into college, it was like really quick, and yeah, I didn't have that much time to think about it and to let's say to decide certain things. And now I have learned from that, and I say I have like realized that there's no rush on getting my life, let's say, started. And yeah, it's better to think calm and with time in order to make the right decisions and yeah, and to move forward.
Yeah, that's actually something I can kind of resonate with in some way. I think because like right now I'm in a so I have been like taking a gap year after high school, and I'm about to go to university in September. Um, but yeah, I see that a lot of my friends, or like yeah, people from school, went just like straight into university, not necessarily having had a chance to like pause more. At least like that's from what I have perceived. Like not having had a moment of really just like trying not to rush into making decisions. And some of them like decided good things for them. Some others are like maybe struggling with having chosen so quick. That's of course like in my case where I've already gone through that stage, I guess. And for me, it was like because I was taking a gap year, I had a lot of time to think, right? But like for people listening who are going through some change in some way, whether that's from high school to university or maybe from university to working, because a lot of people do it that way too. Like they don't have like pause between like studying and going right away into a job. What are your suggestions or your thoughts for those people like to be able like to not rush into things and to calm their minds?
Yeah, I think we live in a society that it's expected from us, from really young people, to make a decision after a decision, and like to like in society socially accepted to okay, finish college and you have to get right to work, you know. But I view it as there's no rush. Like we came to this world in order to do what we want, what we like, to achieve our dreams, and yeah, just to think, to calm down and just to look to a moment what you want to do. Like you're still young. There's no rush. There's a lot of time to if you make mistakes, well, there's a lot of time to learn from that mistakes and to correct them in the future.
Hmm. And it's still, if you're in the stage like that, you can still keep doing things that make you move forward in some way and that you enjoy, right? Like in your case, still doing triathlon and still like competing and moving forward in that sense, even though maybe you might be pausing in other areas of your life.
Yeah, I think that everything we do, it's gonna lead us to somewhere. And yeah, for me, triathlon. Well, I'm still doing triathlon. I might not be working or getting right into the workforce, you know. But yeah, I just need taking this time to stop and think for a bit. And yeah, I guess the dream triathlon is gonna take me somewhere. It might not be in the sport, but it's gonna take me somewhere in during life. And I just feel like okay, I was in this position in January, and I look now where am I, where I have achieved right now that we're in July, and yeah, what I have achieved is not the same as what I have achieved in January. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's my view.
Yeah, that's good. Like having this. Hmm. These accomplishments that might not be very big in some traditional way or in some socially accepted way, but that keep you motivated because you feel good with yourself for doing things, even though like you might be like going through other things in your life. So that's like a good way to also stay mentally healthy in some way, right? Like to keep doing
Yeah,
these things, and especially with sports and physical things. Like that's one of the main things that can be done to really keep um pushing yourself mentally and in life because you were like feeling good in your body, so like you keep doing that outside too.
Yeah, yeah, I would say that yeah, will doing sports will help you like mentally and also physically, and it might not be that I'm doing like something outside of sport, but yeah, sports is it's a big part of my life, and yeah, I think it
Yeah.
helps me mentally and physically.
Then one more question before we're getting into my last three questions that I usually ask to my guests. But yeah, like the question before those is like, what's your vision for triathlon during the maybe next years or the future? So you've been doing half Ironmans. Do you plan on like doing a full Ironman sometime soon or sometime at all? What are you planning on maybe getting more into like running now that you were doing like marathons and like competitions in that uh discipline? What's your like vision for that?
Yeah, yeah, I will eventually want to do a full Ironman. Yeah, and yeah, I would say in the future, well, triathlon takes a lot of time, so yeah, I would say in the future, my main sport, I would say it could be running, and
Mm.
yeah, I would like to do a marathon by the end of this year. That's one of my goals.
Ah, great. What about biking? Since you mentioned that it's your favorite sport, have you gone to any biking competitions?
Yeah, I have done a few, but not that much. Um, it just overlaps with triathlon races that I have, so I haven't got the
Mm.
chance. But yeah, I would like to do it more.
Mm. Yeah, 'cause I mean, I'm not sure if it's really a competition, but I've seen that in some places. I think it's all around the world, but especially like in the American continents. In Colombia, and there's one here in Mexico, but in Colombia, there is this one hosted by the Tour de France, called L'Etape, I think. Have you done that?
Yeah, no,
How was it?
there's
I know.
that race was the first race of the TAP was here was last year I think or 2 years ago here in Ecuador. I was in
Mm,
college during that time, so I couldn't do it.
mm,
So, but yeah, I would like to do it. It's a whole different world doing a cycling race compared to triathlons or running races.
Yeah, I guess that will be cool. Well, now let's get into like the last questions that I usually ask. This can be related to anything that we have previously discussed or to anything that comes to your mind. So yeah, there's
Hmm.
like feel free to answer whatever comes to your mind. The first one is what is like any book, movie, music album, blog, song, whatever that you have consumed recently and enjoyed.
Uh, I would say I was listening to this podcast called The Diary of the CEO, which talks about different
Mm-hmm.
subjects. I think it's a good podcast that teach you about everything about sports, mentally, the industry of medicine, the business. Yeah, I would really recommend it.
Yeah, I think I've listened to like two or three episodes from that podcast, and
Hmm.
it's a good one. And I mean, it's one of the big podcasts nowadays too. So it's probably like I mean, yeah, probably some people listening can uh have already heard the listen to that one. Then the second one is like, what is something that you have learned or discovered recently that is like valuable or interesting and that you would like to share? Like this can be related to anything in triathlon or to anything like in any topic really. This is just like a free space for that.
Uh, yeah, I think I have learned that we already talked about this right now, but yeah, that there's no rush. Uh, you might think that doing not doing what it's socially accepted it's wrong, and you might feel bad about it, but yeah, there's no rush, and you just have to follow your path.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that idea. Then the last one is I'm not sure if you're well, I'm guessing you are, but like if you're much of a coffee drinker, if you are,
Mhm.
what is your favorite type of coffee? That can be a coffee bean, specific drink or whatever. And which is your favorite place or situation for drinking coffee?
Uh, well, my favorite coffee is just black coffee. I just
Mm.
take black coffee. I don't take these let's say coffees that they are like double foam or something like that weird. I just like black
Ah,
coffee. And yeah, my favorite place to drink coffee, I would say, is the first cup of coffee in the morning in my house. I think
mm.
that's you cannot buy that. That's really how to get my day started and have a good day.
Great. So you do enjoy coffee? Cause I
Yeah.
the other triathlete that I interviewed, he was not much of a coffee drinker, and this question is many times just like a coin in the air because I'm not sure if like the guest really likes coffee or not. And so this
Mhm.
since this question is related to the name of my podcast, is just something that I like to ask. But many times people tell me like I don't just not like coffee, I even hate it or things like that. And sometimes it's like, well, yeah, it was a coin in the air. I couldn't really tell. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's been it. Thanks for coming on the show. Is there anything else you would like to add, mention, share?
No. I think thank you for inviting me. It was a good conversation we had. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Well, yeah. Thanks for coming.